welcome to another episode of the Essence of Wellness Conversation. This is a space where we explore real healing, not just through what we do, but what we think, what we breathe, and what we allow into our lives. Today, I have someone truly special joining me, Miss Kimberly Mays. She's a registered nutritionist who helps people reconnect with their body through awareness, balance, and nourishing food. Today, we're talking about something that most people don't realize, that food isn't just about calories, it's about energy, emotion, and connection. So stay tuned with us. This conversation may shift the way you look at your plate forever. Okay. So Kimberly, we're gonna dive in. I love my viewers to get to know you a little bit better. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what inspired you to become your nutritionist?
Definitely, yeah. So my name is Kimmy and I'm a sports dietitian. So I specialize in helping people look at food as fuel to help them not only optimize their performance but their overall health. I'm also more holistically focused.
Yes.
So I look at the body and as a system in a whole, not just, targeting food, but also other holistic solutions as well, because they're all interconnected. What got me involved in my own journey was back in high school. I actually developed a really negative relationship with food because of some things that I saw in my household and my upbringing and, media influences and stuff during the time. And so I decided to start doing my own research on nutrition, and I just kept learning about it. And essentially that's what really helped me start on my healing journey, and that's what propelled me to become a dietitian.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, I'm gonna tell you something really, really special, guys. How I met Kimberly, she came in the spa for a massage session. My spa is Life Natural Essence Massage and Wellness. And through us talking about relaxation and stress and food, we realized that we had this special connection that really would enhance and empower, and people would like to know about. So we decided to get together and come and have a conversation about how people look at food. Okay, so I'm honored to have you here today. So let's get into the questions. So many people think nutrition is just about calories and carbs, right? Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Carbs are the devil always,
Yeah. But you take it a little bit deeper, right? Especially when you was talking about your relationship with food. What does it really mean, or what do you say it means when people say food carries energy?
Yeah, 100%. So food isn't just fuel. I know I'm like hyper focused on that, but food is celebration. It's culture. It's how you like celebrate wins. It's how some people like cope with losses in life. It's heavily involved in emotion. And so, food is the energy of life. Like it's everything is centered around it. And, so, my approach to nutrition is like trying to get to the nitty gritty, like, why people do what they do. And then, all those choices that they're making and all those things that are running through their head, those are what are causing them to use food as a coping mechanism. It's not ever, food that is the issue. It is, everything that's going on below the iceberg. So, and then, you throw in all of these other causes that are out here, like hyper, processed food that is ultra addictive and a lot of sugar and like unnecessary fats. And then that starts messing with like even more up here. And so people, they're so lost in the sauce based on what they see on social media, stuff that's being pumped into our food, things that they're already dealing on, with underneath here. So there's a lot to sort through, so you got to get straight to like the core, what's affecting their spirituality, and then you can kind of work they're up.
And that leads me into this next question is, how does what we eat affect our emotional and mental state? And how do emotions affect our digestion?
Yeah. So how does the food that we eat affect all of our emotions? Because there's so many emotions, you know, that are running through our heads all the time. And a lot of people don't always connect that to like how they started their day, whether they had like a healthy avocado toast or, you know, they're just running on E like with coffee, right? You know, your spirituality, whether or not you are, you know, Christian or not, you know, whatever you believe in, the definition of spirituality is, you know, why you do the things that you do. So if you're putting things in your body that are not nourishing or fueling it, then that does not resonate well with your spirit and your psyche, you know, it realizes that, you know, even subconsciously. And so that can resonate as anxiety, stress, even depression, you know, because you're not feeding your spirit.
And that's also how people do emotional eating, which tends to go towards sugary foods, which breaks down into, which doesn't really break down in the gut and in your digestive state, and it can cause like weight gain.
Yeah.
That's why when people would you say that's why people is, or I notice like if I'm in a state where I wouldn't say depressed, but I'm not feeling like my 100%, I tend to want that nice sugary coffee, that pumpkin spice coffee, or I don't go for a banana, I go for a cinnamon bun, because that sugar feeds, that it gives me that dopamine that I need to bring me out of that depressive state. So mentally, that's what I feel.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Yeah, when we're feeling low, our bodies are going to signal our brains to go for like the highest sugar, highest fat food, because that's going to give us that, like you said, that quick hit of dopamine, that quick energy. But like, you know, then we just get that big sugar rush in our bloodstream, and then it just crashes. And so when people are repeatedly doing that throughout the course of the day, that's where we get, you know, millions and millions.
Our good bacteria in our body, and that helps. That doesn't fight the bad bacteria that comes in our body, and it builds up over time. Right?
Inflammation station.
Inflammation.
Yeah, and it's just like a vicious cycle. You know, it just keeps going. Yeah.
Okay, so since we are talking about foods, what are some foods that people believe that are healthy but might secretly be throwing their energy off balance? Like, that's a good one for you, especially being a sports dietitian. Like, what that people think like that is healthy, that they eat every day that's healthy, but could be kind of changing the energy that they have.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'll list off some ones that are, you know, pretty common, that, you know, a lot of the viewers will share an opinion with me on, and that's just anything that's like hyper processed that's marketed as like a health food, right? So there's a lot of cereals out there, like I've seen like Ghost and Premier, a lot of these like protein cereals with high fiber, but if you look at the ingredients, they're literally pumped full of sugar. A lot of like low fat products as well, right? Like low fat salad dressings, soups, dairy products. When you take that natural fat out of that product, right, then what do you have to put in? Chemicals and sugar to make people keep wanting it. And probably the one that, you know, most people will be surprised and really maybe not like me so much after this when I say this is all sugar is the same. Okay, so one of the biggest like cringy things that I hear from people coming to me and they think they're eating healthy is like, oh, I'm putting agave or 100% maple syrup or honey in my whatever, you know, and I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but you could be using table sugar. It's the same thing, you know. It's sugar is sugar, and that's how the body recognizes it. Now I will say, personally, if I'm gonna want to add just a little bit of like a, you know, regular full calorie sweetener, I think maple syrup is a good one to go for, just because it's so sweet that you only have to use a little bit of it. So I think that's where a lot of people's misconception comes in too. And you know, a lot of people also will argue like, oh, honey is full of antioxidants and minerals and stuff. You have to eat a whole bathtub full of that stuff to actually get the minerals and the micronutrients that you think you're getting. So, you know, I'm not trying to demonize those, but it's just, you know, using them in excess is not healthy.
And if people do use them as excess, especially me as an excess, is because was always told that, oh, if you're going to use sugar, use maple syrup. So I use maple syrup and everything in my teas and everything. I use maple syrup, but it's still, that makes sense. It's still sugar.
It's still
the same thing with honey. It's still okay. And also, one of the things that you brought up is protein bars. So I had went to a meeting yesterday and I had nothing to eat, and they had protein bars there. So I was like, oh, let me grab this protein bar. That'll hold me until I finish my clients and I'm able to get me some food. And I opened the protein bar and it had M&Ms, it had chocolate on the back of it, and I'm like,
oh, this is a candy bar.
This is a protein bar that's full of sugar.
That's how they get people to buy them.
Yeah,
it's
like,
just
well,
crazy.
I will rather toss that out, and I'll just wait until I'm able to get something better. So, now let's talk a little bit, shift it a little bit to food labels. Food labels is so confusing, especially with me. I'm all about trying to read the label to make sure that it has the healthiest ingredients in it. And I know one of the things, if you can't pronounce it, you don't eat it. But there are some things that you can't pronounce that might be good for you. So can you explain why it's important and how it supports your body? Can you explain what's one ingredient or red flag people should look for when reading food labels?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, I could talk about food label or nutrition facts labels, you know, a whole podcast in and of itself. But can I give two things? Can I break the rule? Can I give two things? Okay. Okay. The first one, and let's talk about the ingredients list first, right? So there's the nutrition facts label, and that has like the calories, the carbs, proteins, fats, the vitamins and minerals, and then there's the ingredients list. So I think the first thing should be the ingredients list that you're looking at, right? Most, typical westernized American diet foods, ultra processed foods, right? You turn that, you're reading a freaking novel. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, why does oatmeal need to have a novel on the back of it? It's just crazy. So that's a big red flag for me. So if it's like a packaged oatmeal, right, I am looking for packaged oatmeal that is just one ingredient. But if it's something a little more fun, like for instance, let's say some kind of fun Chex Mix or like a granola bar or something like that, I'm looking for under 10. I think a really great thing to go for, if you're just starting under 10, but then I think it would be great to move to eventually like less than 5 ingredients would be awesome. Yes. And then the second thing we find in the actual like nutrition facts label. So under the carbs section, that's where you'll find sugars listed, because sugar is a carb. But there's different kinds of sugar. So the one that I'm looking for is added sugar.
Yes. Yes. I'm glad you said that.
Yes. So I personally will not consume a processed food that has over 5 grams of sugar, because in fact, I personally try to stay under like 15 grams of added sugar a day. So, I think that gives me a bit of good wiggle room. If I'm choosing 3 items that have less than 5 grams of added sugar, then I'm in the clear. But to put it into perspective, right, like a Cliff Bar, right, health food. Avoid like the plague, right? If you turn that over, right, there's literally, I think, 24 grams of added sugar just in a Cliff Bar right there. Like, that's just insane. So yeah, added sugar, that's a big red flag. So
added sugar, and then under the ingredients, less than, if you have to have it, like Chex Mix that has a lot of different things in it, less than 10 ingredients, Or if you're going to get something simple like oatmeal or something
Right.
like that, you only look for like one main ingredient, or the main ingredient that oatmeal should be, which is oats.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right. So you often mention seasonal eating, right? Can you explain why it's important and how it supports the body's natural rhythm, especially now we've just crossed over from very quickly from summer into fall, and it just like hit us like boom. And I know myself, I went to like wanting sandwiches to once fall hit, I wanted that nice hearty soup, that nice bowl
Like
of comforting soup. So can you explain like what's the relationship in that?
Yeah, 100%. So, again, some people might not share, the same opinion, but we are the accumulation of thousands of years of the way that people before us ate. So, back then, like people, they were forced to eat in season. Right nowadays, like yes, we are very blessed to have transport and modern day food processing and able to have access to, like, for instance, like bananas year round and apples year round, right? But learning to eat in the seasons and go with those natural rhythms, that has to do, with our spirituality and our core identities, right? So what's really cool is that during like seasonal changes, right, there are things going on inside of our bodies that we don't even realize are happening to help us adapt to like weather changes, environment changes, and it's so neat. So for instance, like when we go into this colder time of year, what's a big thing that starts to happen?
Yep.
People getting sick. So we should be, going with more of those like high vitamin A containing foods like butternut squash and sweet potatoes that are like so good for our immune system. So it's like when your body's craving like that warm like bone broth soup, right? That's so good for your immune system. When we're craving things like Brussels sprouts, roasted sweet potatoes right now, right? Those are things high in vitamin A and vitamin C. Those are going to help us fight off those like sniffles.
Yes.
So it's so cool.
That is amazing. That's some good stuff. I never realized that. Butternut squash and stuff is high in vitamin A, and that's why it's a seasonal, because when it's cold, people get cold, and so that's one of the foods that will help increase that immune. Like, this is some good information. That's really good. I never realized that. Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. So a lot of people struggle with emotional eating. We just talked about that, right? Or the guilt around food, right? What's the first step that they can take to start healing that relationship around emotional eating, or the guilt around eating food in general? I think that kind of goes toward where it's like a lot of people, and I didn't want to get into this, but it kind of ties into the vegan, vegetarian, plant-based diet, where some people feel we have so much propaganda on social media about eating meats and consuming meats that maybe some people may feel guilty if they're like consider themselves vegetarian or vegan about eating certain foods, or maybe somebody who's trying to lose weight about eating. It's just so hard to sit down and to look at food as fuel.
Yeah, 100%.
You see what I'm saying? Because there's so much stuff out there, like fruits, and like what fruits do you eat, what fruits you stay away from, what's healthy carbs, what's not healthy carbs, what would you say would be something simple that people can start?
Yes. Yeah. So first we'll talk about emotions, and then I'll talk about like the guilt factor, and then something, that you guys can all do if you're struggling with this, that'll, you know, start you on a simple path. And it's not a simple solution, right? Like emotional eating takes years to heal. But first of all, this is such a loaded topic, and 100% of the people that I work with now and for the rest of my life will struggle, maybe not struggle with emotional eating. But here's the thing. Whether or not somebody admits it, we are all emotional eaters, because like I stated in the very beginning, we are humans, and whether we like it or not, we are governed by our emotions. So when you meet somebody and they're like, oh, I'm not an emotional eater, all lies, okay? Now, some of us just, you know, fall prey to letting them, you know, dictate things more often than others in a negative way. And so those tend to be the people that associate guilt with it. So guilt triggers, you know, a lot of shame, and then that in turn causes you to, you know, do things in secret, or, you know, like have these negative feelings towards yourself about it. So I think, you know, to go with the first question, like, how do I approach emotional eating with people, you know, helping them to, you know, stop using it so much as a coping mechanism? I think the first step needs to be like being okay with that. Like, if you are sad or you are anxious or stressed, and you, like, the first thing you do when you go home is you find yourself going to the cupboard and you reach for a muffin or a candy bar, like, if the first thought you have at yourself is like, oh, you so fat, you know, cool, you just set yourself off on this like negative tangent, and now you're just going to keep going. But if you go to your cupboard and you reach for that muffin and you start eating it, and you sit on the couch and maybe just like let yourself cry, eat that muffin and cry at the same
Eat
time.
the muffin and cry.
It's so healing. You guys should try it, okay? And you know, maybe like your spouse or your roommate will see you, and then like that just opens doors to talk to somebody about it, right? So don't be mad at yourself for feeling those emotions. Recognize what you're doing and give yourself some grace.
Be grace with it. Right?
Now, you know, a better thing to do, maybe the next time, and this could be like a goal, is have some things that are eye level, you know, that you could reach for instead. Maybe it's like an apple and a package of rice cakes. Go sit on the couch and still cry, or pull your hair out, or something, you know, but like give yourself something nourishing, like an apple that's high in fiber, or like a cheese stick with it that's high in protein, that can fill your belly with fiber, protein, right? And that can help you like calm your nervous system, because your nervous system is like spiked right now. So your cortisol is spiked, and then all you want is just like more spikes, you know, more dopamine spikes, that like sugar spike. So don't give it that, because you're just going to keep getting more anxious. So give it something high protein, high fiber, you know. But again, this is, you know, years of, you know, practice and giving yourself grace. Yeah.
And the one thing that I recognize with us is, especially in the American culture, is we eat to live. We don't live. Oh, I'm sorry. We live to eat,
yes,
but we
not
don't
eat
to live.
Yes, 100%.
Right. So a lot. That's, I think, to me, is an onset of emotional eating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It definitely wasn't always like that. So
So we're almost at the end, or we're at the end, and I have my one impactful question that you're giving that look like, oh my goodness. All right. So if you had one powerful daily habit, something that anyone can start today, and it doesn't have anything to do with food, it's just a daily habit that that's powerful and that can impact a person in a positive way, that they can start today, what would it be?
Yeah, I thank you for saying that it doesn't have to be food related, because it's not really food related.
Right, it doesn't have to be food related.
But yeah, my most powerful habit, so specifically a habit, I think that that everybody should have is starting their day with some kind of like journal or a planner that involves reflection. Because most people, the second that they wake up, like their, wheels are already spinning, right? And so if you're not taking, even just a moment to maybe journal an intent for the day, or, just write out the 3 most important top priority things, that can be so calming and just set you on a good path for the rest of the day. And so, one of the intentions that I write about, a lot of mornings in my journal is, today I want to press forward in, every action and every thought is love God and love people. Yes. And like, no matter what comes my way, I can handle it calmly and peacefully, and that makes me want to just treat myself better, and in turn, like, manifest love and, just keep helping people. And
that's a great thing, because me at my home, the first thing I do after I get up and go pee,
yeah, that's important.
The first thing I do is I come back into my room and I look inside. I look at my mirror. Like, my mirror is right there by my bed. So on my mirror, I have sticky notes of little affirmations that I see every single morning. And they're not, well, some of them is affirmations, some of them is a goal that I want to keep in mind throughout my day, and some of it, and then one of them is just a positive thought, and I have it on my mirror. So I see that before I go to bed. I see that in the mornings when I get up, and that helps me keep a positive thought. That's something that I do.
Yeah.
Another thing that you mentioned journaling. Mm-hmm. So this goes back to, now this one actually goes back to food, as well as emotional and wellness, which, I'm a big supporter of. Is I tell my clients is, you can have as many journals as you want, right? So what I tell my client is, do a separate journal, and in this journal, I want you to write down, like, keep a track of what you eat, keep a track of, how you feeling. Start off maybe by the week, 1 week. If you write down, like, this morning I ate this for breakfast, after you've eaten it, I felt bloated, or, the day went good. For lunch, I had this, and this. For dinner, I had this, and this. And after a week, when you go back and look at that, you can kind of find out a little bit, like, what are food triggers, how you felt when you ate this food. Also, you can figure out, like, what you did in a day that made you feel good, what you did in a day that didn't make you feel good. So that's how I get my clients to kind of like change routines or help them, because they're coming to me for help, right? They're coming to you for help. So to help them actually see for themselves things that they can change. And if you see it for yourself, it's easier to become a habit to change, right? Because you're seeing it. Like, I'm actually doing this and this and this. It's supposed to be telling you that you're doing this and this and this, and you may not see that, so you're not going to change it, right? So that's something else that I tell my clients, to get a journal and write down just things that they do in a day, as far as how they feel and how they eat. Well, Kimberly, this has been such a grounding and eye-opening conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and energy with us. Such good energy, such, down to earth, being real, also keeping it where it's simple. I love that. I absolutely love that. So before we close out, can you please tell everyone where they can find you and follow your work?
Yeah, 100%. So I am like the worst millennial ever. I'm not on Facebook. I am on Instagram, but that's it. Okay. So my handle is Fit Foodie with a Y, RD for registered dietitian. So Fit Foodie RD, and I'll have you put it in the show notes. And then I'm also on Nourish. So that's a platform. So I visit with patients via telehealth. So we take most insurances, which is so awesome. So that'll also be, you know, linked as well. And then you can just search me on there by name.
So telehealth means that you do virtual.
Yes.
Yay! That's amazing. So she does virtual consultations. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
100%.
amazing. I would definitely put your information inside of the conversation, the chat.
Yeah.
And I'll also have it on this video for you to see. So, to my beautiful audience, thank you for tuning in to the Essence of Wellness Conversations. Remember that healing starts with awareness. What we eat, what we think, and what we feed our spirit all day play a part in our journey. If today's conversation spoke to your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs it. And until next time, breathe deeply, stay grounded, and take care of your essence. Peace and wellness.